But if you're so inclined that you want to sit back, relax, and read a book, we're talking to an author. Hi, so
Hi.
nice to meet you, Marilou.
Nice to be here.
And you have written a number of books. I went to your website. Oh my goodness, you're a talented lady.
Thank you.
You're a playwright?
I'm a playwright and a screenwriter.
Wow. And what have you, I mean, tell me, what does a playwright do? I mean,
She writes plays.
yeah. No, no. And a screenwriter writes for movies or for television, whatever it is. What got you started in that, being an author?
Ever since I was 4 years old, I wanted to be an author. Okay. People would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd say, a writer. Not a mommy, a writer. See, I was deliberate about what I wanted.
Yeah, and well, you could do both, but that's okay.
That's true, but I wanted to just be a writer.
You just wanted to be a writer.
Yep.
How did you get started? What was your first book that you wrote?
Well, my first story I wrote was when I was 4 years old.
Oh, really?
I wrote a story about the little hurt bird. My grandfather picked up a baby robin on the road and brought it in, and we cared for it and got it back to health. So I wrote that story.
Oh, well, how nice. Do you still have it?
Yep.
Oh, good, good.
Yep.
I love that. Keep it, you know.
I will.
Not just on your refrigerator. Just
No.
in a file. What was your first book that you wrote?
The first book I wrote was in my grandfather's house, a Catskill Journal.
And that's a Catskill Journal. Tell us about that. And how did you feel about your grandfather? I mean,
Oh,
what inspired you?
My grandfather inspired me. I was raised by my grandparents from the age of about a week old and lived with them until they passed when I was 18. But my grandfather was an Irishman.
Okay, well,
County
give it up for the
Westmeath.
Irish.
That's right, give it up again. And from County Westmeath, Ireland. And he married a wonderful southern lady. And they lived together and built the house that I still reside in Oneonta.
Oh, in Oneonta.
Yeah, he built that in 1923. And he was just the most wonderful man. My inspiration, who always told me, Marilou, you can be anything you want to be as long as you put your mind to it.
Well, and when you look at the tradition of the Irish with writers, I mean, they're prolific writers.
Oh, yes.
And playwrights.
Oh, yes. I like that.
Yeah. And so that was your first book.
That was my first book, and this is my second.
And this is your second.
Right.
But you've done, and what have you done with screenwriting?
Screenwriting, I'm an award-winning screenwriter. One of my screenplays, Lisa's Angel, is a story about a little girl who was in a car accident and went to heaven and had a guardian angel with her and so forth. That was a finalist in a screenplay festival. My other screenplay was Lusitania, which is about the ship that went down in 1915.
Yes,
and that was also a semifinalist in the Austin Heart of Film Festival screenplay contest. And now thankfully, I have a Hollywood production company interested in another one of my screenplays as we talk.
Exciting.
Yes, I'm trying to break into the movie industry. Very difficult.
It's a difficult industry, but if you can make it, you are just really on top.
Got to get your foot in the door somehow. So I have done that, and through one of the groups, I linked up.
Not about what you do sometimes, it's about who you know. I mean, you've got to make that contact first to get in there. But you're here to talk about your most recent book.
Yes, I have it here.
And this is called Dreaming of the Dead, and Personal Stories of Comfort and Hope.
And all those pictures are from my own personal photo albums.
And there it is right up there.
There it is.
So tell me, was your grandfather in this?
Grandpa's in there, yeah. He was one of the spirits that came to me right after he passed. But he was Irish and believed in leprechauns and ghosts and all kinds of things like that. So when
rings?
Right, and when I was growing up, I heard about the leprechauns and the ghosts and the graveyards. And he was a gravedigger in Ireland when he was a young boy, and he used to tell me stories that would raise goosebumps up on me. But I loved it, you know. I'd cuddle up with him at night in front of the old kitchen wood stove and hold my teddy bear in my blanket, and he'd tell me that he'd go past a cemetery and there'd be these wispy kind of cloud things, and you know, he'd hurry past. If there was no moon, he'd definitely hurry past. But I grew up believing in these things because you're a little 3-4-year-old girl listening to it.
Why wouldn't you?
You know, and so I never had any fear of anything to do with dying or death or, you know.
Natural part of
it
life,
was, and Grandpa said his thing was it's just like going from one room to another, you know, waking up in a different room. So it was, you know. And then I saw my first spirit when I was just about 4. And then after that, when I got older, they started coming in dreams to me. And
that's the title.
That's
Dreaming
the title.
Of the Dead.
And there is Grandpa in there. Also, my first true love, who is on the
there's
back.
A photo. There's a photo. I think, Greg, there it is.
There's Butch and I, 1969, June, almost, let's say, 40-some years ago.
Yeah. You look beautiful there.
Thank you. I don't know what happened to me, but anyway, sir.
As a kid, you know. That's
well, I was 18 then,
yeah.
and, you know, and he is one of the most interesting spirits because he lets me know through music, through a lot of things that he's around still. And
what happened to him?
He passed when he was 38 years old in 1990 of a brain tumor.
Oh my gosh.
You know, he was just the most wonderful, caring, beautiful first boyfriend you could ever have in your whole life. He was my best friend, you know, and apparently still is. So that's a wonderful
thing. So that's where you get your comfort.
Right. Yeah,
from the connections that you have with people that have passed away.
Right. Yeah, they're there.
Where is the hope?
The hope is in reunion.
Okay.
The hope is in that knowing that Butch is simply not dead. He just no longer has a physical body, same as my grandparents. And
it's the energy that, you know, that's what they talk about, that your energy, and when you pass, your energy...
You cannot destroy energy.
Yeah.
So he's definitely still with me. He's probably here now, but and he would have been here today, I know, if he was alive. So you know. So it's a wonderful connection. It's a wonderful thing to have, and I do explain to people that there is a difference in dreams. There's the ordinary dreams that you have that sometimes you wake up in the morning and you can't quite remember, or there may be people in your dream that have passed. But the dreams that I have, that I've had since I was a teenager, there are sight, sound, smell. Every one of your senses is acute, and that person is physically present with you. It's not like you're seeing a ghost or anything like that. So there's a vast difference in extraordinary dreams versus ordinary.
Can a person, I mean, you know, that has lost someone, can they like go to sleep and think about that person? Will that bring them to them, or is this just something that happens?
I think it's a combination of both, actually. I think that you don't have to be a psychic medium or anything special to have this happen in your life. You just have to be open, and you can't have a closed mind to anything because there are many things that we do not understand. And I must preface that by saying that I've also had 3 near-death experiences where I have been able to pass over into heaven and
the white
return.
Light kind of thing?
Never saw the white light, no. Just became one with the place. And I always end up in a beautiful field, a meadow. And so that must be my idea of heaven, is to be in a field, you know, of pure beauty, you know, just sunlight, and the feeling of unconditional love is beyond incredible. I've never seen, you know, saints. I've never seen anything like that. I'm instantly there, and
it's a spiritual thing.
It's just very, very beautiful. But you are surrounded by love that is non-judgmental. Also, your pets are with you.
Oh,
that's
good.
something. That is something that a lot of people ask me. My pets, I have seen. After they've passed, they've come back in dreams. My dog, Mandy.
Just so he doesn't shed, that's all.
No, you never have to brush them again. Because I had a lot of long-haired cats, too. But no, they have souls. I truly believe they have souls, but they do come back, and they are with you on the other side. So there is comfort in that.
Now, if someone is going to read this book, what would you tell them they're going to come away with by reading this book?
Peace.
Peace.
You would come away with peace after you read that, because you would understand that somebody that you love that had passed is really not gone. They're just the absence of their physical self. That's it. They are still with you. You can still communicate. So I would say peace would be the word.
Yeah. You've had these experiences of near death. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that. When did that happen?
First one happened when I was just about 3.5 years old, when I contracted pneumonia. And my grandparents had me admitted to the hospital in Oneonta. And while I was laying in the bed, it was a corridor bed, I remember that specifically, but I had, back in those days, I don't know what they have now, we had the huge oxygen plastic tent around you.
That's like the old polio thing, yeah.
Right, and I couldn't see clearly through the tent. But I remember being exhausted and waking up hearing this little girl's voice going, "Marilou, Marilou." And I woke up and looked around. I didn't see anything except the dim lights out in the hallway. And I said, "Who's there?" or something. "It's Emmy. It's Emmy. You have to get up and come play with me. Come with me." And I opened my eyes, and there was the most, cutest little girl. Blonde,
Did you know
curls. Her? Never saw her in my life. Blonde curls, like a high-necked Victorian-type dress, pale blue. And
you remember colors.
Yeah, the colors were incredible. And then she took me to the meadow, where all the children were playing. They were just playing and tag and ring around the rosy, and she wanted me to take her hand. And at that point, it took all of my energy, but I knew not to take her hand, because to do that, I would be going with her. And something told me you'd never go see your grandparents again. So I remember pushing my hands under my back while I was laying in the bed. And then as soon as she did that, a light began to form outside the bed, and that was the guardian angel that came for me and kept her pretty much at bay after that.
Yeah.
So it was an
you hear stories
incredible.
like that, yeah. And your second time? Three times. You got three stories.
Right. The second time was, strangely enough, talking about how quickly you can pass from this world to the next in the space of a heartbeat. I was in my bedroom, which was a few yards from the kitchen, where my grandparents were having their nightly ritual of a cup of tea, and Grandma was combing her hair and everything. And I had asthma, terribly bad, when I was young. And all of a sudden, I stopped breathing. And I couldn't cry out. I couldn't do anything. The next thing I knew, I was going quickly through the roof of the house, going up into the sky.
I've heard this.
And it was so fast, and the journey was like a kaleidoscope, twisting and turning. And I ended up in the meadow again, and I looked around. I had a few moments there, and then suddenly plunged back into my body. It was so fast, and I realized that I'd almost died. But when I looked to the side of the bed, there was my full-formed guardian angel standing there with the beautiful blue eyes and the long brown hair and the white robe, and he put his hand on my head and told me, "Be at peace, child, you are healed." Never had asthma since that day. Never.
Oh my God.
Never.
And that's pretty unusual.
No, and I was healed at 16, and the last one was a car accident in 1984 when I was taken out of the car that had been hit I was on my way to work in Cooperstown, New York. And I looked over in the seat, and there was the angel, and he just said, "Come with me. I have something to show you." And we went through the roof of the car, back to the meadow, and there was everybody I'd ever loved sitting there in the meadow.
So that's your comfort in your
And there it is, and all my pets were there.
Oh,
and he sent me back with a mission that you have to teach people.
Tell
the
your
angel
story.
said, "Tell your story, you have a message."
And that's what you're doing as a playwright, a screenwriter, and author. Her book is Dreaming of the Dead, Personal Stories of Comfort and Hope. It's a connecting with departed loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at it. She'll be glad to tell you where you can get it. Where can you get it?
And I am going to be at Barnes & Noble, Colony Center, June 16th from 2 to 4 p.m.
Signing your book?
Signing my book.
Great. So
there you
nice
go.
to have you on the show.
Well, thank
Marilou,
you, Ann.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
And hear your stories. Sounds like a fascinating book.